What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations, also 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, host the only online show in the world for fathers and dads that's sponsored by Dove Men Care. Got to get that right. Dove Men Care. It's also co-sponsored by DAD, Central Canada's National Fatherhood Organization. And I also am the board chair of the Global Food and Drink Initiative. It's a multimedia not-for-profit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora that are doing it in food, wine, and travel. But all that is passé. It's April 24th, a little bit after 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and we found a home, and people are finding a home with us on Staggers State of Things with special guest Jill Jones. And you know what? There's never a quiet moment, and they make sure that there's never a quiet moment. So let's bring our wonderful ladies onto the stage. Here we go. Okay, ladies, what's going on?
It's great. How are you doing?
Good, doing fine. And already, you know what's a wonderful feeling? We've been doing this for a bit of time, right?
Yeah. Yes.
What's a beautiful thing when you can come on and there are already 7 people watching us already.
Oh, really? Oh, that's so nice.
So we want to shout out to everyone who continually supports us. It's appreciated, not taken for granted. Cinnamon Canela, you're here on time this week. You're not at the end tonight. So she's saying good evening. She's also saying a beautiful day is ahead of Scorpio moon.
Oh, really? That's my moon sign.
And also have T. Stevens, Dr. Vibe, Aisha, and Jill. Grace and peace to you all. Grace and peace to you. Right back to you. Thank you so much. Real Dango. Yay. Hey. Black Beauty. Hey.
Hello, love.
The Real Dango again. And Chris saying, before things get rolling, a question for Jill, rebaking. Hey, sister, go, sister. Have you been kneading that dough, sister?
It's true. I did another batch today. So, yeah, every day. Every day. It's like my happy place.
Excellent.
And then it goes into my belly and becomes my happy belly. I'm like a little Buddha.
Well, everyone who's watching this live or on the replay or listening on the replay, we sincerely thank you. You know, that, definitely. You know, we do this for, you know, just to have some fun, but also make people know what's going on and just the seriousness, especially what's going on in the United States. And I'm gonna have to look back in the archives when we got to be coming up on another anniversary soon.
Year 3.
Yeah,
we got to be coming up on another anniversary.
Really? Yeah, maybe.
Well, I got to take a look when that happened.
But like that,
yeah, something like that. So we're gonna, you know, we've got to have an anniversary show and have some of you out in the audience. You got to come in, but you can come in anytime. You just email me, look at the credits at the end, and how to get in touch with me. Chris Langford goes, nice to the baking, Jill.
Oh, great.
You know, you're gonna become. We're gonna have to do one of these Jill's baking secrets.
I'm gonna have to do a bake-off or something.
Yes,
yeah, I know.
Absolutely. And I mean, the people are coming in like crazy. Whoa!
I mean, I've been doing homemade pasta. All sorts of things. Bagels, croissants. So yeah, I'm starting to ramp it up.
Oh, so I guess we'll see on Top Chef next season?
No. You know, I worked for a chef in New York. I worked for David Burke. I was his assistant, actually. And it's a tough, it's like being on stage working.
Yes.
I think it's the next best thing to entertainment and its business is like being a chef, because every night is a performance. But boy, is it hard work.
It is.
It's very difficult.
Very
incredibly hard.
Yeah.
Brutal.
You have to send me some bread.
Yeah.
Well, we could talk about bread and all the things we do, but people are here to hear Jill and Aisha drop knowledge bombs. So let's go to it. First things first. Well, what were most people talking about this week? The George Floyd verdict. So first thing I'm going to ask, and then you ladies can take over like you do. Where were you when you heard the verdict?
Standing in front of the TV.
Yeah, I happened to turn the TV on just to see if they came up with a verdict. And
I mean, I could have had it running. So I was like waiting, you know, it was in the background and I was working on my computer on something. And then I went, because my husband was like, the verdict's in, the verdict. I was like, okay, you know, and that was, yeah, it was kind of, I was pretty elated, you know, but then there was something, you know, I was surprised that they had all 3 counts because I got a little nervous, like, uh-oh. And, but I think the good thing is that, I mean, it's kind of weird because it's not really a celebration in a weird way, because I started to look at everybody in that courtroom, Derek Chauvin, and I was like, what did you do to your life? Like, what happened? Like, how it just went too far, you know, just what, you know, there's always, I take no joy in someone else's pain or misery, no matter what they are. I just found it, you know, nothing can bring back George Floyd. And then what can you do? I mean, it's like, so it's very bittersweet. I don't think there's a happy ending for anyone, really.
Aisha.
you know, at first I was looking at people's reactions online, and people, you know, beforehand, people were like, oh my gosh, they haven't come back with a verdict yet. And I was kind of like, well, good that they haven't. I think that if they came back with a verdict, like within the first hours after, like within an hour or two, I just kept thinking of the Emmett Till acquittal, the acquittal of the men who killed Emmett Till. And it took them an hour. And they say that the only reason that it took them an hour is because they stopped to take a Coke break to drink some Cokes and talk. And I was thinking this with that verdict was that if they had come back within an hour or two, that it would have been an acquittal or a hung jury. They just gave up at that point. But when they came back, like Jill, I was surprised that they came back on all 3 counts. I was expecting probably manslaughter. I was very surprised that they came back with the 2nd-degree murder conviction. And Derek Chauvin was actually surprised if you saw his face. He had that face, like
panic, and we could only see his eyes too. So we saw the interior of his soul. He looked freaked out, like freaked. He was freaking in that chair, but how composed still. I mean, that says that a lot of that said a lot, because I might have been bawling my eyes out, you know. That said a lot of about who he was as well. You know, I don't know if everybody saw the numbers on his hands when they handcuffed him. There's 3 black lines, and his attorney has since come forward and said that before they went back, when they knew the verdict was coming in, he said, if it comes back and you're not acquitted, here's my number and call me, because he didn't get a chance to talk to him. They just basically wrapped him up, put him in the thing, and took him off. They couldn't really confer, you know, have any kind of conversation. So yeah, he said that's what the attorney said, that it was his phone number on the back of his hand. We don't really know.
So Cinnamon Canella saying George Floyd was surprising but feels incomplete. How about the other officers?
Aren't they being charged in August?
Yeah, in August, their trials come up. An attorney that I saw on MSNBC said that if they're smart, they're dealing right now.
Oh, yeah, this must have really knocked their socks off.
Yeah.
You know, like, holy hell. I mean, like, they probably didn't expect it either. But, I mean, you know, the prosecution had an amazing case. The way they put it together, even how they staggered all of the witnesses was they built it like its own. It really had its, you know, peaks and valleys and low moments, high moments. That they orchestrated that bit, and it was quite something to see. So, you know, of course, we know that Jovan is going to appeal because
it's not over yet.
Well, because also he stated it each time he was asking for a mistrial. It's important when you're in a court here in America, your attorney has to say it sooner than later, because those things go and are used in the appellate. So we were all kind of like, why are they doing that? But it is something that is done. If, you know, and as a matter of fact, he didn't say it on one day that, you know, when the prosecution closed their case, he went on and called his first witness. He should have actually asked for the mistrial exactly right when the prosecution ended their case, saying they did not prove it. He came back the very next day and asked that. So, you know, either way, he got in enough marks. And I think there were some things that he could appeal on, just because this is our justice system here. And for some reason, there's something really wrong with that too. I mean, you could have somebody going pro se, which is like if you're defending yourself, and then they still put restraints on people. There's still jargon and filings and all this other nonsense that goes with it. The whole damn thing needs to be revamped. It's not just the police. It is the justice system. Do you agree, Aisha?
Yeah, I think the entire system, because the entire system doesn't work for everybody, period.
No.
So until it does, it really is an unjust system. And it's not a system that's equally applied to everybody either. And that's part of the problem with our justice system. I think with this particular case, Nelson missed opportunities to do things for a mistrial. I think the things that he's going to appeal on are just nonsense. Like Maxine Waters, you know, he's going to try and appeal on that because he brought it up. That I don't think is going to, I think that's going to get dismissed. I think one of the other things that he tried to bring up for a mistrial is going to get dismissed. I think the things that he should be attacking, like the fact that there's a juror that has a book deal, which we've talked about on this show, are things that could get a new trial, but he's not going after those.
Well, the crazy thing is that, you know, when you think about the cost of how much this trial costs taxpayers, you also have to think about the fact that usually when you appeal, it's not usually the same attorney. I mean, I don't know, in this case that he would keep it, it's usually another attorney. But also, if he doesn't have the support of the union going into the next appeal, then he has a different situation and they will rule him as indigent. It's when you don't, when you're broke, and he'll get assigned somebody to deal with the appeals. So it's definitely a long road. It's definitely, you know, it's not a cakewalk, but it's just the justice system. Everybody who gets a verdict typically has some way to appeal, because typically a judge makes errors on how they rule. One of the errors could have been sequestering, lack of sequestration I would have thought this was such an important jury that I would have sequestered them. That's kind of my thing. And, you know, but we'll see what other rulings, probably the tiptoeing around that last piece of evidence with Dr. Tobin. I think there will be something that gets picked apart. We will probably have to just wait to see how this judge rules on what the sentencing is. I think that's key. And partly because our justice system is so imbalanced is because each state has their own set of, you know, rules. But if, you know, on one hand you have old scumbag Alan Dershowitz going around saying he, you know, stirring up the fire about Maxine Waters. But what's interesting about that is slowly it came out, some of his Chauvin's other crimes that were not revealed to the jurors, with this 14-year-old that he strangled. And the feds are investigating him on that. And the feds are also investigating the whole Minnesota Police Department,
Right.
every region, everywhere. So basically the message that Merrick Garland just sent is, you can try all you want and you might give him a year in jail, but I'm telling you, he's going to have another trial or some kind of something very soon, because we are looking at how he wrestled and did a chokehold on a 14-year-old child. So that was a big message, and we got a little opportunity to see how Merrick Garland plays. He plays pretty close to the vest, but he's one of those people that just brings it back on you like, well, if you think you're going out tonight on that date, you're not, because I got the keys, you know?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
if you think you're going, hang on a minute, put the brakes on.
I just want to jump in for a quick second. Chris is saying surprise when 3 guilty verdicts came in. Glad of it, mind you, and hoped it gave the family some measure of comfort, even though it does not bring George Floyd back. Sure. Real Django saying the justice system is jacked up. T. Stevens, Derek Chauvin controlled his breathing during the reading of the verdict.
Dr. Vibe
is frozen.
I know. Uh-oh. We've never had this happen before. But I think he can come back in. But you want to go?
T. Stevens is saying Derek Chauvin controlled his breathing during the reading of the verdict, but he could not control his eyes. One can see his soul dying in his eyes. One thing for me that I saw in his eyes was the whole thing of like, it was the privilege, the white man's privilege that, but I'm white. Did you do this to me? Do you not see me? You know, I'm also a police officer. That was the other thing for me that I saw in his eyes too. But
his biggest mistake for me was not testifying.
Yeah.
If it was me, I would have gone up there, and you know, I know it may have given me more time, but if they didn't believe me, but I would have tried to have humanized myself, because you got to remember you have a mask on, and you know all they're seeing. And he kept writing, and that did him some damage, I believe.
It did. It made it look like he didn't care, like he wasn't present and in the moment. And as the jurors keep speaking out and saying what helped make their decision, that's also going to affect the trials of the other, you know, the other 3 officers, because these jurors are saying they're saying it was strictly Dr. Tobin whose testimony really convinced them.
It was. So, you know, I'm texting Dr. Vibe to find out where he went, if he's going to be able to get back on. Oh, there you are.
There we go. You know what? So Jill had technical challenges before we came on tonight.
I did.
Aisha, she had some fire alarm challenges, so I had to round it out.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so let's get back at it here.
So
here we go. We're talking about the controlling. You only can see his eyes, and then and Chris is saying though, what soul? Jovan has no soul.
This is true.
This is true. You know, one thing we have to bear in mind is that this was bound to happen, and his people, thus, which explains why they're doing the Minnesota investigation on them, is because there had been too many red flags with him and many other officers. And they enabled him, and essentially they created the monsters. So if their policies are creating it and not moving forward, then they have to get to the bottom of this, because I personally feel that the job is such a crazy, horrible job to have. I don't think it's healthy for anybody to be a law officer for that many years. I think they should move them into other areas instead of these street things. I really just don't think mentally, without some kind of evaluation. I mean, heck, corporations have psychiatrists sitting in their offices in the hall. So why don't they have one there? I mean, maybe they do.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, my goodness, it's like they really need to, not just when you shoot somebody, it's just kind of like, you know, what happened, you know, what are you going through? And that's very, very important. You know, if Chase and Citibank and all of them have therapists, why don't our government divisions, as critical as being in the services, the first responders type of thing, they need that. I mean, it's just need
available,
it.
but they don't. It's not required. They have to ask for it, and it's something that probably should be required because police officers see so much on the street, you know. And you think about homicide detectives,
you
constantly going in and out of bloody crime scenes and things.
Absolutely,
that obviously messes with your mind. So,
I think so.
To not be required to have to go and get some kind of counseling and some kind of just a checkup, because that, you know, PTSD is not uncommon with police officers after they've retired.
Oh,
you know?
totally.
So obviously it's happening on the job. So I agree. Anytime an officer has to dispense their weapon, ongoing counseling, not just that one visit, but ongoing counseling should be something that is a part of the job. And, you know, and let's look at how we train officers too, because the length of time that they train is not long enough. One. No. Two, they don't undergo extensive enough psychological evaluation for the job. They get a psych eval that's not, you know, that's
complete.
That's not complete, and it doesn't, you know, they're not getting. They get an evaluation, but they're not getting counseling before they go on the job, which is probably something that should be part of police.
Yeah, it would be part of their support for them, because the reality is, I believe the institution itself of policing hasn't quite figured out what that really means to provide that kind of mental support when people are actually going out there, and what kind of character do you need to create and foster in order to make them killing machines? Because that's all they've been creating lately. They have created killing machines, and I don't know how many of these people are sleeping at night. And they do have a high rate of suicides in the police departments and things like that. So, you know, it goes both ways. It cuts both ways. I mean, we're in a really aggressive world. I think everybody needs a little bit of support. And it's just not enough to just say, oh, well, this is the way it used to be done. You know, it's just, I see more people acknowledging their ignorance than their ability of progress and intelligence, you know. And it's not, I'm not intellectualizing things. I'm actually coming from as a human being. It's like, it seems like that group and this macho bravado thing that's going on has a real problem with showing any kind of weakness or saying, hey, I need help here.
Yeah. And also too, we've really gotten away from the community policing model.
Absolutely.
Where not only do you have just the substations in communities, but you also have police officers who were hired from the community that they lived in. So they had greater care for the people that they were there to protect and serve.
Well,
they knew the people in the neighborhood, so they saw them as actual human beings. When you're telling people to go police people instead of going to protect the people, it's a whole different mindset.
Well, we don't even have that with our doctors anymore. No. We don't have a sense of community where every time my insurance changes, I have to get a new doctor. And, you know, so we just have created this sort of a la carte type of engagement with some very critical people in your village. You know, we have created this very impersonal divide. And, you know, for whatever reason, people want to move up, they want to move down, or wherever they're going to go. Nobody's consistent. I mentioned Officer Tommy Norman, the one from, I think, the Midwest somewhere, and I follow him, and he knows his neighbors. He has fundraisers to get them things, food, and all these kind of wonderful things. He features the people on his page. It's beautiful. They need to hire him to head up this reform, and how to, you know, a lot of these officers are being shipped into areas like in New York. They bring in officers who are from Long Island who are working the streets in New York City, and vice versa. So, you know, it's like, that's the thing. Everything is too a la carte, and it becomes really impersonal. Do you think Netflix, HBO, any of them have my damn allegiance anymore? No. I'm like, I'm canceling this right now. I'm going to do another trial and find something else. So there is no solidarity. There's no allegiance, but we can't do that with people.
Okay. I'm going to just jump in here. Real Dango is saying Chauvin might say his lawyer messed him up because his lawyer did not let him take the stand.
Well, no, he can't say that, because in the trial, his lawyer asked him exclusively, did I impact your decision? And he said no, on the record. So he doesn't even have that defense.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Chris is saying here, in regards to the police, it should be required. Look at the number of white supremacists have already infiltrated both the police departments and our military. Truly frightening.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that is another thing that we're going to have to address in our justice system and in our policing, especially, is the amount of white supremacists, white nationalists that have infiltrated. But that is nothing new. They've always been there, because if you look at the history of the police system, it started out, you know, you start with the early slave traders. These are the very people that they began with recruiting to be officers of the law. And then you had, especially in the 60s, Bull Connor was the biggest white supremacist that you can name. He was also head of the police department in Birmingham, Alabama. And so they've always been there. I think now we're at the point where we need to really figure out how to obliterate that aspect of policing. And unfortunately, it's there, and it's so toxic that you have avowed white supremacists, and then you have people who harbor racist beliefs but will not call themselves white supremacists.
Right.
And that is the element that is more dangerous to people on the street than the actual avowed white supremacists, because you can call them out. You know who they are. They're easy to identify. It's the people who have the racist beliefs that are more difficult to smoke out.
I think what was really important, though, is that we've kind of exposed the need for the change, but we also have all of these agitators at the same time. We have situations with being in prison and incarceration rates and all of these things. So we're in a really we're in that part of the laundry cycle that's definitely bouncing us all around with whatever we thought we believed or knew or what we even feel.
Yeah.
Right.
And until we have a federal government that can deal with how we police people, you're gonna see slow moving on local governments. Look, you saw all those people on January 6th. There were probably a couple thousand people that were there. However, they're just at the point where they're saying that they might be able to arrest and charge 500. Okay, that's it. And so if
500,
500, here we are 5 months later, right? But we're expecting local governments to be able to do the same. So and it's like it's who's the model for this, right? So
just
the federal government's not doing that. What are we expecting local governments to do?
So just to close off on the George Floyd verdict, is it? Oh, how could I put it? There's an article I have here. It's a bit. Would you consider it a bittersweet glimpse of justice in America?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, definitely.
I would.
Okay,
definitely.
All right. So let's move on to our next conversation topic. And we were chatting a bit, myself and Joe, before we came on live. Not the George Floyd. We're now looking at the deadly shooting of Ma'Khia Bryant. So you get a verdict in one trial, and now this happens.
At the time the verdict is announced.
Yeah. Ladies, what is your take on this whole Bryant situation? Because I'm hearing a lot of different things. What do you hear, and what do you have to say?
One, I don't like the way the news media has covered it. The news media, and I say this as a member of news media, other types of news media have covered it very differently. Black media, I think, has gotten it right. Mainstream media has not. Where the moment that they found out that, they looked in the video that she did have a knife, they're like, oh, we can't be sympathetic to this 16-year-old being shot by police officers. And they stopped talking about it, period, like it didn't happen. And as if she didn't deserve the kind of sympathy that a George Floyd did or Dante Wright did. But the story is nonetheless tragic when you really look at the video and you read the details of what happened. You have this child who is in foster care, and apparently the reporting from the foster mother is that some of the foster children that she had in the past who moved out came to the house and were harassing her and her sister about their bedroom being messy and were going to attack her violently in some way. And she called the police to come. And how the knife or whatever was introduced, no one has fessed up to that. But when you look at the video, this police officer, within 10 to 13 seconds of getting out of his car, fires 4 shots. And it just is the justification that people have made is that, well, she could have hurt the other girl, which is true. But 4 shots to the chest.
It wasn't at her chest. It was towards her side. I think he had no choice. I know that knife could have gone right into that girl's liver, and that would be it. That knife could have reached that child's or the other girl's organs. I call them children because they're much, much younger than me. But the belligerence of the girl to have seen the police pull up, not acknowledge them. The other girl in the pink acknowledged him because he told her to stand there. He pushed his hands like, stop. But Ma'Khia took that as her opportunity to do, like a quarterback, and picked up that knife or whatever because something really bizarre just probably snapped in her. But the story that they're all telling, each person that's telling the story has a reason to lie about it, even the foster mom, because she makes money off of have those kids living there. So, you know what I mean? She makes money. She's been doing it. That's how she pays her bills in her house. We don't have enough people that go in. And by the way, her parents, her mom and dad were down the street. They live on the same street. So, and the reality is that her mother and her dad were trying to get her out of there. But then there's some reports that one of the men there might be her dad who went to kick the other girl. So I don't know if that's true. I know that they're doing the investigation. I know that, you know, a taser wasn't legitimately going to be able to reach as far as they were. I don't know what he was supposed to do, but I'll tell you what, if I was the girl in pink, I'd be happy that he shot her because she was going to do it. She was going to do it. And it's really, really sad because this girl, all the adults failed her a long, long time ago. And so did society.
Yeah,
but I
really
don't,
serious.
I just can't also, if somebody wants to kill somebody because other people over a bedroom stuff, that sounds ludicrous. That sounds stupid, you know, and I don't know what the mother, she wasn't paying attention then, the house mom.
I don't think
because there's more.
There. That's what I'm saying. I don't think that she was.
She was standing outside. She came up with the other mother right after. Like, you see, these people in so many ways, like when they have foster parents and all of that stuff, they are the people that go, and there's all kinds of people, and child services goes in and deals with it. But no, I mean, she was working a job, and I'm sorry, there was something else going on. I don't believe her. I don't believe it was just about the girls in their rooms. And if it was, then, then child services failed. And here's the other thing. The family has no other recourse but to sue the foster care system because their daughter doesn't belong to them anymore.
Right.
They can't get a reward from the state or anything for a settlement. She belonged to, they lost their custody of their child. So what was that about?
The early reports from
or they put her there. It's two there's only two ways.
Yeah. The early reports were that she was being abused by someone in the house, which that's why I'm suspect as to whether or not the foster mother was actually in the house when everything started.
They said she walked up with the mother shortly after the shooting.
Yeah, she walked up with the mother afterwards. She wasn't there.
But like fast enough to be on TV and being interviewed. Like, I don't even know if they'd carted the girl away yet or taken her to the hospital. I mean, my thoughts on this is it's really, really sad. But in the heat of that moment and what was going on, someone was going to get killed. And even from the neighbor's video, I mean, so I think the reason people backed off was because it made them all look like a bunch of fools going and defending and like, oh my God, another one. And yeah, it's really sad on some level, but it isn't like Breonna Taylor and it isn't like George Floyd. There's big difference. And we have to be really careful with our movement going forward in reformation to not just, be like, oh, well, the police are just, yes, for the most part, they gun down people. And we have more than just those videos to prove it. We have people who had no guns, hands up. We've had it all. But we have to be a little bit more conscious of, what we decide to make politicize.
I get that. But when I talk about how the media covers these things is that I watched how we've covered it, how Black media has covered it. And as things updated, we updated the stories. When things have come out, we updated the stories. We didn't just drop it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So as new things came out, we didn't just drop the story. I think that's one of the things that
who dropped it? Because I guess I saw a lot of them. I mean, let's just be honest. Sometimes it's just it's all synchronicity. Let's be honest. I thought that the detective who shot Philando Castile was going to go down. The video was equally as gruesome and horrific as George Floyd, in my opinion. Yeah. It was. I mean, we saw a man actually getting shot. Boom, right there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and nothing. Something has shifted in the perspective of how everybody's looking at this now, but also to see some, you go, well, it used to be they go, oh, well, they were doing something and they were doing something. And this was not an exemplary performance on her part, on her behalf. If the other girl was coming towards her, I don't know. She kept on. She kept on. She was rolling around with the other girl. It just like, and it's so tragic and so sad. But, you know, I don't know what else a police officer was supposed to do. They are trained to, and if he shot her in the leg, it could have hit the artery. I mean, there's just so many things, and she still could have bled out and died. I don't know anymore, but I do know that parents have to start being accountable for their kids and where they're putting them and what they're doing. It's really very basic. There's that end of the bargain that some people are not living up to. I don't want to judge it too harshly, but I just don't think that everybody is as, you know, like, you know, we had 3 carjackings yesterday here in LA. 3. And I hate to say it, each one who did it was a Black man. It's like, I'm not going to lie. It just makes my blood it hurts my heart. It hurts my heart because I know what they're thinking. 3 going 170 miles an hour down the freeway.
Wow.
Thank God OnStar stopped one of the cars. OnStar just made it stop. But you see, there's a couple of agreements that we're looking for from the white community, but the Black community has to come together and make an agreement with itself. And we've never gotten that. We don't have that. We have not been successful at getting that. People don't go to church like they did during Martin Luther King's days. He had their agreement. He had most of the people like, I'm with you. But these days, I don't even know who's listening until there's somebody shot. And then they get mad and go and run and get their guns. And then everybody else wants to run out. We have a problem. And if we're going to, you know, really educate each other, but we need a promise, not just from the white man, but from our peers and from each other.
Okay, well, you know what? That last little part, we're going to have a separate conversation, all that, you know, Blacks and trust, you know, so just want to catch, I heard Aisha's sound effect there. We'll do this. Hold on. So let's catch up. Black Beauty. Here in Columbus, Ohio, our media, to me, were factual and as well, were factual as well, actual video. In my opinion, it was cut and dry. She would have killed or hurt the other person, and the officer had no choice. Black Beauty is saying this was not racist. It's tragic, but not the officer's fault. The officer had no choice. Real Django, I've had a very hard time with this because there's so many odd things going on.
True.
Cinnamon Ganella, Miss Bryant had a short and chaotic life. I think the police had no choice. A knife can cause death as well. T. Stevens, Michaela Bryant was going to plant that knife in the girl's neck. The blade was approximately 2 to 3 inches from her neck. This is tragic. Cinnamon Canela did not know her parents were in the same neighborhood. So it's very interesting. It seems like people are, just people are sort of divided or mixed. It's not a straight yay or nay on
this. Dr. Violet, if I may.
No, let Aisha first.
That's what I meant about the news media. I kept up with Ohio news because I had to write about this week. The way that Ohio news kept up with it, obviously because it was a local story. I just wish that more mainstream national news kept up with it the same way. Because I think for those of us who aren't keeping up with this story, if you weren't paying attention to it, it looks like they actually, like, this happened and they dropped it. You know what I mean?
But I mean, I thought that maybe they needed to drop it because there were other cases that actually did continue. The gentleman in North Carolina,
right?
It still is perpetuating and going on. We had a few more cases since then that were totally, the body cameras were showing, sort of these people were actually doing nothing, or there were mental health issues. This for me is that people in America have this real funny balance about guns. They're like, on one hand, don't take my guns. And then you say like, well, in the UK, you know, they don't carry guns. If the police come out and they do have guns, they mean business, and they've got sharpshooters and they've got them on the roofs and everything. So you tend to know that, but let's not ever, most of Europe has had many terrorist attacks that have involved knifings. And I'm talking knives like this big, and, you know, or a machete. Remember in London when the soldier guy from somewhere decapitated another soldier in Walthamstow, you know, so we're dealing with some craziness that definitely went on. The woman, and then the other day in France, a Tunisian terrorist killed a police officer who was trying to do a knife fight, you know, and trying to go through that, and he got stabbed and killed because we're just a mess. I mean, our society is just, these are the consequences of everything we've ever put together and done.
Well, obviously we'll hear more about this story as it goes on, but it's quite a story, especially during this week. It was a very, very interesting event for happening during this week. But let's go to our world of American politics.
Oh.
The Arizona Republicans begin reviewing 2020 ballots. Why?
Okay, see,
Why?
I had to ask Jill this before we came on the air. I had to ask about it because
you thought it was April Fool's Day.
Well, no, I thought when I read this, I was reading an old story. That's why I had to ask. Oh, so this was real because we've been there. We did that already. Joe Biden's been sworn in. What? These people are a hot ass mess.
I mean, and as I said you know, what a lot of people feel is that the Republicans are just trying to continually distract us, you know, and then in the meantime, still trying to undermine our government. But I really do feel that it's time for Biden's team, the DOJ, and all of them to get on the good foot now. It's time to come for Trump. It's time to come for all of the people, the senators, all of them, and with some real seriousness. Because otherwise, on one hand, it looks like, hey, wait a minute, you guys basically played us through this whole time about Russia, about this, about that, about Trump. I want to see his damn tax returns if they were so bad. And you will lose your Democrats who stood by, scraped for pennies to get these people elected. I'm going to be like Salome and what she asked with John the Baptist. I want that for Donald Trump, maybe not the head part, but I want justice, and I want him to be delivered to the courts, and I want to see all the things he's done just exposed. There's nothing wrong with that. Give us that, because now we've got people in Arizona counting. They've got blue pens and they're changing voting, whatever, and the ballots. And they even had the audacity, the caucasity, to say that he won California as well. They are not going to stop. It's time now to put the oil slick out and the brakes, and let's just skid them right off the road. It is time. And I don't know what Joe Biden and Merrick Garland and them are doing, but they better get it together, because they're losing the faith of the people who have been so supportive. I think Joe's doing a great job, but on this, we want Donald Trump prosecuted, and we want all of his cronies. We want all of them to the fullest extent of the law, and uncover the Pandora's box that of his wicked web.
This is what's so ridiculous about this, is that there are actual idiots, Republican idiots, who believe that them going back and reviewing these ballots and changing these ballots, illegally, mind you, means that they'll remove Joe Biden from the presidency and reinstall Trump.
Right.
It's foolishness, highest level. It's just absolutely stupid. I mean, read the Constitution. These people who call themselves constitutionalists don't even read the Constitution. What makes you think this is going to happen? These people have been selling you lies, lie after lie after lie, and they believe this is going to happen. It's like they believe the stuff so they did this insurrection. So now they're going this way with the 2020 ballots. It's like, give up the ghost already on this. He lost. He's not coming back. And the truth of the matter is that even if he could come back, he wouldn't know what to do with anything that would be placed at his feet right now. You know,
who are the girl from Arizona, Serena? What is her name?
Oh,
Kristen Sinema. Does she have to run again in 2022?
No, she got 6 years.
Oh, because I was going to say,
I'm tired of her.
But I just think it's time for the things to go down and get rid of some of these people in our party, because we cannot afford this. And we gotta go. Yeah, well, we need to really start playing some serious hardball. Serious. I just can't handle this anymore. And now they're all waltzing around at funerals and everything. And it's great that they went to the funerals. It's fine. But there's a time to get back to work, and you can do it all. That's why we pay you the big bucks. We need you to be covering this.
So Chris is saying, Aisha, so true. Big old hot a mess. I keep hearing that indictments are coming soon for 45 and his ilk. When?
Exactly.
And then what are they going to do? Issue indictments in 2023 when he decides he's going to run again? It's like, come on now.
Black Beauty saying, I agree, Jill, but unless or until the Department of Justice comes in with a big stick and put this 45 plot to a screeching halt, our democracy is at stake of being no more.
Now, they could be waiting for one thing, and that's for the Senate to confirm all the justice people that Biden has out still before they jump into that vat of oil.
Well, we need to, you might be right, but we need to expedite these things with some quickness, because it's just the fact that there's these people wasting. And here's the thing, they're donating money to this foundation, TCM or TCP, and they have all started to come back. Even the sponsors that once said, oh, we don't want anything to do with these people, they're back. They're back on board supporting these people until the next thing that they squeal and pull their panties up. You know, it's like, yeah, for a minute. And then they'll be loose like a goose soon and drop their drawers for these Republicans in a second. You know, I can't take it.
Jill, that was classic. That was classic Jill Jones. Oh my God, that's so hilarious. All right,
I have no class.
I'm sure you do.
You can't take me anywhere.
Oh, come on now, stop your noise. Well, let's move on. Speaking about taking people anywhere, Caitlyn Jenner officially running for governor of California. Thoughts, ladies?
Okay, now first, what they're trying to do in California with this recall is wrong.
Yeah.
Californians, Republican Californians are going to be really, really in a bad way if Newsom is out.
Yes.
Okay? That's the first thing. Second thing, what job has Caitlyn Jenner had
that Kris Jenner didn't help him get?
Right. Before
her, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not trying to disengender.
Before.
Oh, Jill.
Before sports. What job has she had that qualifies her to be governor?
She couldn't even do her speeches, like her things. Kris built her. Kris made her. And then she left her. Then Caitlyn decided she was Caitlyn and left. I'm sorry. I'd vote for Kris Jenner before I'd vote for Caitlyn, because that's the boss. That's the one that knows how it works.
All that time,
and I don't really like either one of them. Right?
She still hasn't learned how to dress
at all. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else you ladies want to include on that?
No, I think it's really important that what Aisha said about what they're doing out here with Newsom, even if you're not in this state, it's really important to give to his fund. I've been giving as much as I can. We're at 40% of Californians. You know, we don't, 40% only want the recall, basically, even out of the ones, the names they've collected. So we still have, you know, I don't think she'll get in, but I do think that they're trying to do a lot of damage. There was a really bad rumor that came out yesterday that the alt-right is trying to press forward that during the George Floyd protests, that F-16s were going to be flown down by the crowds who were protesting, and that the military had said, no way, we're not doing this because, you know, that's an attack on our own people, and that is illegal to do. You know, an F-16 with the flames that come out and just the sound of it would just terrify people. Well, they've asked the general who was in charge at that time, and so it's just written as clickbait, and it's coming from the LA Times, which was crazy, because if you didn't read the whole article, you would be like, how could Gavin Newsom do that? Well, the order for the National Guard wasn't coming from Gavin Newsom. Some people are denying it, but it's looking like, you know, who was saying because he was running that. He literally wanted that.
It's interesting you mentioned that. So Chris is saying, I would not trust Caitlyn Jenner as far as I could throw her. She has too many ties with 45. She is far too duplicitous.
She's duplicitous for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. I agree with Chris on that one. And the fact that she hired Brad Parscale, the one who threatened to kill his wife in Florida last year. I mean, honestly, it's just trash at the very beginning. Well, remember, they showed him getting in the car and he was in his underwear and he had a standoff with the police down in Florida.
Yeah,
I don't think she wants to win. This is why I think she hired Brad Parscale, because here's the thing. If she really was trying to run an election she could win, she would have run against Gavin Newsom when there was a real election, not a recall. This is a punk move.
It's a ploy to get more people to
This is just
log on to let's get rid of him.
Right. This is to get her name out there and, you know, attach a celebrity to it, because remember, these Trump people only vote for celebrities.
It's true. And then they accuse us of like being Hollywooded out. And they're the ones who fall for, they had Schwarzenegger, they had Ronald Reagan, you know.
And I hope the trans community comes out in full force to vote against Caitlyn Jenner, because
she's done nothing for the community.
I remember when she had her little reality show, I Am Caitlyn, and the trans people told her, you know nothing about this community, because one of them told her, all you want to do is dress up as a woman. That's all you want to do. You don't know anything about this community. You don't know that a lot of us are sex workers. You don't know a lot of us struggle with housing, that we've suffered abuse, this and that. And, you know, she sat on top of her white Republican privilege. And when she told them she was Republican, a lot of them flipped out. So exactly. I hope that all the communities come out and just show her what's what.
I agree, but she won't get my vote. And I still say that if we had to pick between the two, and I'm not a huge Kardashian fan but you know, there are some things that they have done the daughter has done for criminal justice reform with many people. I think it's amazing. However, if there's anybody who, the other ones with their $1 billion and whatever, I'm not interested. I'd say that the wife was the one who made the empire. And I just can't see why we're going to slag the woman off, who not give credit to where it's due. Caitlyn would not be where she is if Kris Jenner hadn't built her.
Yeah. And one more thing to say about that is keep your eyes on the prize, because this is all about getting rid of Democratic governors. That's it.
It is everywhere in every state.
Yep.
Okay. Next up, we've lost a lot of music icons. This year, everyone thought last year
last
was
3 weeks.
Yes. So here's another one. Shock G. Now, for people who don't know who Shock G is, ladies, can you give them some education?
Oh,
Shock G was a member of Digital Underground, the Humpty Dance.
Dance.
But also, also Shock G and Digital Underground introduced us to Tupac Shakur.
They did.
Who was a member of Digital Underground.
Yes. He was?
Yes, he was. He was a dancer for Digital Underground.
Oh my.
Remember the song I Get Around?
Yes.
And also
Shock G was on that song.
I think Shock G sang on one of Prince's songs, Love Sign.
Shock G did a remix of Prince's Love Sign with Nona Gay.
Nona Gay. Yeah, he was super, super talented. Played instruments, you know. I always love to say this now because it's such an anomaly to say that somebody actually played as an instrument. He could play piano. He could, you know, he was very talented. And so they did find him in his hotel room after his passing. And I guess they're just waiting to see. I think the world is just, it's very difficult for some people to stay here any longer than they have to, you know, especially highly creative people, because when you think of music these days, it's so limited. You know, when you use computers and when you have the ability to have your instruments and your collaborations, you can have amazing changes, musical changes. When you're relying on an artificial intelligence to determine what your hook is, it gets a little banal and it's empty and it's just music. The world walks around in pop 40 music. And that's another thing. If we wrap in everything we've said today, the sum equation, I keep saying music is a mantra. If your kids are listening to certain things, you need to be careful what your words are, what you vibrate and resonate to. Back in these days with Digital Underground, rap was so much fun.
Yes.
Going out was so much fun, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You'd go out and have a blast. It was
Humpty
just
Dance. What a fun song. What a fun, positive
I didn't go out. I was in high school, but
but I mean, it was just so much fun. And there were the ironies or the sarcasm or the wit that was used to get over a very important statement was such a clever way of songwriting, far more clever than I went and Shade or whatever the hell these trap
the whole
guys are.
Sex Package,
you know, let me go get my bag.
Really
let me get my bag. It's like, go get your bag. And, you know, who cares? It's like so dumbed down. I think, you know, I was really sad to hear about these wonderful musical icons because unfortunately, they just won't come along anymore.
And Black Rob.
Like that.
Black Rob also passed away a few days before Shock G, which was another one that it was very sad because Black Rob exists in that cemetery that Puffy has behind his house. And the reason I say that is because that man just does not pay his artists. And it's very sad that Black Rob contributed so much to Bad Boy after Notorious B.I.G. died. And he was for a while, you know, feeding the Bad Boy label as, you know, their chief rapper for a couple of years to be homeless. And
you're right. We have that situation. They don't look out for the artist. We have many artists who need help as they're getting older. Some don't have families. Some don't have savings. It's becoming dire. And what do you expect? I mean, so when I hear Puffy and all, I'm like, yeah, okay. You want to jump on the political train when you basically were a part of the system system that actually, let's just be straight up. But I'm glad to see that many of the fans know this. And many people who are adults now know that some of your favorite performers, you know, don't have any money.
Because Diddy wasn't going to make a whole lot of money as a producer when
and could never afford an attorney to go up against Puffy, because he was these kind of artists. No attorney will touch you when you're going for up against a major megastar. Why? Because they're hoping for that chance one day to work with that mega attorney, that mega superstar. So they're not going to come in with your little case, to which they see as little. So artists, so much back in the day, and still to some degree, because all of these music attorneys all went to the same school. They're all friends. So all these rich fat cats who made money off their friends, who are living somewhere and have illnesses and on kidney dialysis, you know what? They can go to hell. They're friends, because that's not cool. But they still keep trying to manipulate the system when they were the system. Yeah. They were also putting knees on people's necks.
Yeah. It's just really sad to me, the number of hip hop artists
creatively
that
stealing
died.
People's songs.
Yeah. It's sad, the number of hip hop artists that have died in the last 10 years. I'm thinking about this as we were talking about this topic being one of our topics for tonight, because I was thinking, like, even 10 years ago, Heavy D passed away. And then you have, all these other artists, in between, in their 40s and early 50s, hip hop artists passing away. And it's like, is anyone ever going to live to be a senior citizen in hip hop?
Those guys will, because they've been able to go to doctor's appointments.
Right.
And they have the money to, but there are many, many of them, who.
I'm talking about the really
Oh no, I know what you're saying. Yeah, absolutely. It's so sad, Aisha. So I'm really just very, very sad about this. That we are not looking out for. But yet again, we're going to jump on the Black Lives Matter. But I guess Black music lives didn't matter.
Well, we still got to get that in, the Black Lives Matter and the money thing into an episode. So hopefully next episode.
We really do. And
we had our own internal slavery. We have our own little hierarchy of slave running in within our own community.
Yeah. And if you think about
and that's just called human nature. Sorry.
Yeah. And I mean, when you're talking about a celebrity like Diddy wasn't going to make money on his own. All his productions were sampled songs. So where was he getting that extra cash from? It makes you wonder, and why you think of all the groups that he had. He had Faith, he had Biggie, he had Total, he had all these groups to begin with when he started.
Mary J.
Mary J wasn't. Mary J was smart. She wasn't on Bad Boy. She was on Uptown.
Uptown with Andre Harrell.
Yes. And then she moved.
She got cover.
She was smart. Okay, she was smart. But all those groups that he initially had, no more. He goes through groups and artists like toilet paper.
Because it was always a great tax write-off. And I don't know, that's what labels are for. Vanity labels were set up that way. They're set up as a way to either launder money or a way to offset your taxes for everybody. My mom always said that, even when the Beatles had Apple, they didn't do anything, but it was just set up to be that. They've always been like that, because it's just very difficult to have an artist completely, and not just the artist. The artist may have good intentions, wanting to, help all these other people coming along if they can. But at the end of the day, there are other people who are typically running it, and their main objective is to cover the main guy. And that's how it goes. And you end up, those main guys have to throw their friends under the bus religiously to save their tax dollars, or to save everybody.
All right.
Bad Boy's almost 30. It's had one artist consistently in those almost 30 years, and his name is Diddy.
Enough said. Let's go to our final conversation piece. We always end off our conversations with the cockroach. So this cockroach is Josh Hawley for being the only senator to vote against the hate crime bill. Who wants to chat about this?
Josh
Aisha.
Hawley is a racist. That's all. Just how are you going to be the only one and then claim you're not a white supremacist? I'm sorry. It's like, oh, but I didn't start the insurrection. I wasn't any part of the insurrection. Yeah, it was. This is a no-brainer. Okay, this is something that could have made him look good, even though he's just not a good person. And he decided to look like the jackass in the room.
Yeah.
It's like the one time you can choose not to be a jackass, he's like, no, I'm going to go ahead and be the donkey of the day and just, let me show my behind to the world.
Why am I sort of getting ready to duck for what Jill has to say? Because she has her hands on her chin. And I'm going, oh my, it's like she's loading the arsenal to go.
No, I'm not going to. I was just going to say he acts like he's, in the final stages of syphilis. Like.
Was I right, Aisha? Was I right?
I swear I was thinking that. I wasn't.
Was I
mad.
Right?
These people are crazy. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what principalities have come in and taken over, but they are. It's like the point of that. That I was like with Aisha. I'm like, what is the point to be the only one who didn't vote? Okay, what is that? That is just. Okay, you want to collect the other little crumb people who are hanging around and they're racist and they're whatever. But I just have started to think that all of them, maybe they're all doing each other and they all passed around this syphilis. Yeah. I don't know. It's crazy because I don't get it. They sniff around each other like little animals.
So Chris is going.
Lindsey Graham always looks like he's sniffing.
I know.
Lindsey Graham always.
No, that's I gotta give credit though. That's Charlemagne the God's phrase, so he doesn't come after us.
All right. Okay.
So I'll say that. But it's like because I had to say that because of another word I was going to say.
Okay. So, all right.
In place of another word. But
okay.
He just
Chris is going, Jill, OMG. And he's got tearing laugh emojis.
Because I can't even explain it anymore. I've just actually been like, there's like a worm up there that's just gone, I don't know. Jill. When they crack his head open, it's going to be like from Alien or something really crazy. Shoot.
It's like he was smoking crack that day and decided,
Oh, he's got his demons. I can't wait till somebody rolls up and rolls those down, because anybody like that has something they are hiding, and it's right in front of our face. I just can't put my finger on that. That's people reveal their insecurities, like by what they have, the little suits, the little Lord Fauntleroy look that he's got going on. I mean, it's very, very peculiar. I don't know why he could still be over his state when he doesn't live in it. And he doesn't live there. He used his sister's address. Can somebody in the freaking courts do something? Do we have a government that actually goes and, see, it's not enough that I just see Derek Chauvin go. I need to see everybody walk the line in handcuffs and chains that came from that White House. If Derek Chauvin is supposed to be the white people's sacrificial lamb for all of it ain't enough. That's for sure. I want the ones who are in political offices, who are in the police offices orchestrating this, who have those clandestine meetings with the police unions. Those are the people. And a lot of them, you can go back to the Tea Party, that old Koch brother. You'd have thought after he lost his brother, he'd have become a better individual. No, they don't. They don't.
They're still on fire.
They're hateful.
Derek, just because you mentioned his name again, who Derek Chauvin reminded me of when they told him that he was guilty? Sarah Jane from Imitation of Life. But I'm white. White. That's
so true. Like I said, it's not enough for me. There's not enough meat on this bone. It's a little bitty tiny lamb chop that they charge a lot of money for. I think we need the whole calf.
Okay.
You know, we need all of them.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
Josh Hawley's going to go down. I just don't know for what yet, but they haven't dug too deeply in his background yet. But somebody's going to. Somebody's going to. They're gonna come up with some Matt Gaetz
Oh yeah,
stuff on him.
you know it's going to happen. That's how God is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody.
All right, ladies, another epic conversation. T. Stevens saying another great show. Thank you to all. Thank you to Chris T. Stevens, Black Beauty, Cinema Canala, and everyone else who watches live or on the replay or listen to it on the replay. We appreciate it. We don't take it for granted. Chris is saying here, Dr. Vibe, Aisha, Jill, you rock. Bless you all.
Thank you.
It was beautiful. But we're come to another conversation end. And as we always do, we ask the ladies, what is the best way for them to be contacted? So, Jill Jones, go first.
For just some fun things, you can reach me at Jill Jones Music on Instagram and Jill D. Jones on Twitter. The fun stuff going on is on Instagram if you want to check out my baking.
There you go, Aisha.
I'm not fun. So
Oh, stop your noise. Stop your noise. You got to laugh like that and you're not fun? Go on
I don't
now.
update my Instagram page that often.
Twitter's you.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Aisha Staggers. That's where I do all my stuff.
That's where you do. That's where you do your baking, right?
Yeah, that's where nobody bothers me.
Okay, fantastic. Well, folks, another great conversation, Aisha and Jill. And again, we like to thank everyone who's watching this live on the replay. Thank you so much. Like, the numbers are going up, folks, live. So thank you so much. Tell your friends about it. Follow any of us on Twitter. You know, follow me on YouTube. Follow the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook. And you'll, especially if you follow on Facebook and YouTube, you'll get alerts on when the program's going to go live, and as I post them as soon as I possibly can, or close to when the program is live. And we're looking now that most of the time we're going to be going live Saturday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So set your clocks, set whatever you got to that. I am Dr. Vibe. I'm the host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020 Best Podcast News and 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. Also, once a month, I host the only online conversation in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Care and Dad Central. And I also am the chair of the Global Food and Drink Initiative, where it is a not-for-profit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora that are doing it in food, wine, and travel. Again, thanks to everybody. We got a few last comments here. Okay, just put them up here. Cinema says, oh God, went so fast. Thank you, ladies and Dr. Vibe. And Cinema's Canela saying, yes, Jill, yes, keep baking. So Jill, maybe there's a bakery in the end here. Jill Jones Bakery. I don't know. Maybe she can start shipping some stuff across the country. But thank you, everybody. It's appreciated, not taken for granted. As always, I like to say, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher and wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember to give yourselves grace. God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith. And we will see you next week, God willing. And do keep safe. All right, folks? Take care.